In this module, we will discuss privacy. I want to discuss it in two respects, in the ways recent technology affects our privacy. First concerns the invasion or apparent invasion of our privacy. As Edward Snowden has revealed to us, the NSA collects information about American citizens on a large scale without their permission. Google and Facebook both target advertisements towards their users based on data they collect from them, which includes not only the demographics the users belong to, but also what sites they visit, what links they click on, what they search for, how long they visit a site, etc. Although it is obvious that the NSA is violating the privacy of its citizens, that violation might be justified in the name of security and peace. Google and Facebook can hardly try to justify violating privacy on those grounds. On the other hand, it's less obvious that Google or Facebook or other companies are actually violating their users' privacies, because Facebook and Google users click OK on service agreements that explicitly mention how their data will be collected and used. And those agreements can change even after you've signed up. The main problem with this is that virtually nobody reads all of these so-called click-wrap agreements to software or websites they use, and it is controversial how legally binding such agreements actually are. But information technology has also affected our privacy in another way. The Internet and Web 2.0 has created or helped create a culture which invites us and encourages us to reveal the details of our lives. Our selfies populate the net. We post photos of our children on Facebook. What we eat and what we do is updated on Instagram and Twitter. Thoughts we might have once kept to ourselves are now broadcasted on Facebook and our Twitter feeds. Here it is we ourselves who seem to care less about our privacy. But in the past and in our offline relationships, what we choose to reveal about ourselves to others depends on the nature of our relationships with those people, and that information that they have affects our relationships with them and our sense of who we are and how secure we feel. These two trends, the way our info is being logged and analyzed by more and more corporate and government entities, and the way in which we reveal more and more of our lives, are not totally separate issues. The picture we put up on Facebook being drunk and wearing a costume can now get us fired from our jobs. This happened to one Stacy Snyder in 2006, when her supervisor discovered a photo of her on MySpace, depicting her wearing a pirate hat and drinking from a cup, with the caption, "Drunken Pirate," and told her that it was unprofessional. Whether it was wise or not to post the photo is one issue, but it is a different matter entirely, and far more relevant, whether our employers should judge us on our behavior outside work, or even look into our private lives at all. Let us look at what privacy is and why it is important. Much of the time, privacy is important to us because we don't want a certain party to know certain things about us. For instance, if I was playing poker against an opponent and my opponent can secretly see my cards, that would be unfair and a violation of my privacy. I might want to hide some embarrassing fact about me. For instance, I might pretend to know Kung Fu when I'm home alone, because I would not want that shared with everyone at school. And if I've once had a drinking problem, I might not want a potential employer to know that. In all these cases, we don't want other people to learn certain things about us, and one might think that privacy is about keeping information about ourselves out of the hands of others. But it's much more than that. Sometimes we don't want others to learn things about us, even when those things are things that everyone does. We don't want our bathrooms to have hidden cameras, taking photos or videos of us while we relieve ourselves, even though we all use the bathroom. As another example, certain tabloids or institutions in our culture often try to discredit a celebrity by showing naked pictures of them, or of them having sex, yet we already know that everyone sometimes gets naked, and it's fairly common for people to have sex. Privacy, I think, is important because of what information we share with another person helps us define our relationship with that person. And if we had no control over what another person might know or learn about us, our relationships become jeopardized. We act differently with different people in our lives. We might be jovial or reverent with some of our closest friends, and more formal with our colleagues. We might be playful and silly with our children or nephews and nieces, and we might be stern with our employees. This doesn't mean that there are different facades, and that who we are with our closest friends is somehow more real than who we are with our colleagues. It's only that we have different relationships with them, and often we want those relationships maintained. It's not as if revealing more aspects of ourselves gets to a truer me, even if it might give a fuller picture. I might be obliged to share my sexual history with a potential new partner, but not yet want to share the details of my finances. But it'll be the opposite with my accountant. I will most certainly want to share the details of my finances with him, but not want to disclose my sexual history. But in neither case are we being dishonest. It's just a function of how our relationships work that we want certain bits of information shared and other bits not. Without these kinds of boundaries in information, our relationships might be impaired. If I start saying off-color jokes, which I usually reserve for my closest friends, to my colleagues at work, they are right to be offended, not only because my jokes might be offensive, but because I have forcibly changed the nature of our relationship. They can no longer be mere colleagues to me. In short, privacy is important because it helps us define our relationships with other people and various institutions. Once that privacy is violated, we lose a large measure of control over that relationship. Some of the authors we will be reading for this module will have slightly different takes on privacy. In our first article, we will look at Adam Moore's article, Privacy, Its Meaning and Value. Here, Moore argues for why privacy is about having control over access to oneself and to information about oneself. In Concealment and Exposure, Thomas Nagel discusses the danger of a public culture that talks about the private aspects of our lives so frequently, what it does to our relationships, what it does to our sense of self, and our capacity for self-development. Jeffrey Rosen, in The Web Means the End of Forgetting, he argues that one of the things that allows the internet to affect our private lives so greatly is its permanence, how the things we once made public remain public forever, instead of being forgotten or lost in time, as it would have happened previous. One of the great challenges of the internet is how we are to manage our privacy, and in A Contextual Approach to Privacy Online, Helen Nissenbaum offers a framework of how we should do so.